Team F Studios. My name is Charlie Curran. I'm joined alongside Michael Brandon and Finn McAfee. Today we're going to be talking about the AP poll, possible solutions, and what's going on currently. So Michael, what are your thoughts?
Well, college football playoffs right around the corner, and how are those teams making the playoffs? The AP poll is what it's all about. In fact, there's even a new playoff bracket this year, so we'll be getting into that later.
Another talking point with the AP poll is how accurate it is, and the accuracy obviously is important when it comes to which teams make it to the playoffs. And we'll be going into some problems and solutions on the accuracy and validity of the AP poll.
The AP poll committee is made up of 55 journalists, and they decide who makes a run for the college football playoffs and the actual rankings in the poll.
But it's rigged.
Well, not actually. There's a lot of thought and consideration that goes into making the poll.
Like what?
Well, the AP poll stands for the Associated Press poll and was started in 1936. It ranks the 25 best college football teams in the country. The AP poll consists of 55 members on a panel from across the country to ensure that there is no bias. A team's ranking is decided by the amount of points that they gain accumulated from all the journalists in the country.
Here are key features sponsored by Snapple. First of all, the release time of the poll is very important, and it usually comes out every Sunday after the Saturday games during the regular season.
Subjectiveness of the poll is very important. Compared to other metrics like computer rankings and so on, the subjectiveness is important because it's the opinion of the panel rather than computer metrics, which are just purely data-based.
Influence. Although the poll is influential, it doesn't directly determine who makes the college football playoff. However, it does provide a snapshot for nationally seen teams.
Schedule difficulty. What's very important to the AP poll is the difficulty of team schedules. If you have a lot of wins versus ranked opponents, it'll boost your ranking in the poll. If you have a lot of losses against unranked opponents, it will not help you in the long run. This is why winning games early often helps teams.
For example, just until last week, Army had an undefeated season because they faced weaker opponents, and because of this, they were not able to crack the top 10 of the AP poll. It's interesting to see how the poll is set after the preseason is finished, and then to see how accurate it is. The latest AP poll has Oregon at 11-0 in the 1 seed, and shortly behind is Ohio State and Texas at 9-1.
Indiana's undefeated season still only has them at 5 to round out the top 5.
Notable moves include Notre Dame climbing up to the 6th seed, and also Alabama breaking the top 10 right below Notre Dame at the 7th.
With the playoff picture taking shape, the stakes are higher than ever heading into the final weeks.
While all this is happening, there's still two sides to the poll, and a lot of people think it's unfair. So Finn, tell us more.
Yeah, a great example of the poll being unfair is last year FSU were undefeated, yet they did not make the top 4, so they could not have a chance at getting the national championship. The teams that were chosen in front of them included some undefeated teams and teams that had losses. Here are some quotes on the screen from FSU's head coach and quarterback.
Devastated, heartbroken, in so much disbelief right now. I wish my leg broke earlier in the season so y'all could see this team is much more than the quarterback. I thought results matter, 13-0, and this roster matches up across any team in those top 4 rankings. I'm so sorry. Go Noles. What is the point of playing games? Do you tell your players it is okay to quit if someone goes down? What is the motivation to schedule challenging non-conference games? Today they changed the way success is assessed in college football, from a tangible metric, winning on the field, to an intangible, subjective one. Evidently predicting the future matters more.
The reason that the coach and quarterback were so angry is because late in the season, their Heisman-winning quarterback, almost Heisman-winning quarterback, went down late in the season with an injury, which made the AP poll and college football playoff committee think that they weren't going to do so well. Meanwhile, the team that made it in over them lost by 50 in the first round.
Graham Coffey, an American-known college football analyst, posted this on Twitter, basically saying how some teams' rankings really doesn't make sense, because as we see in the tweet, some teams with 0 losses are making it, some teams with 0 losses aren't making it, and vice versa. And Graham Coffey wants the math to be shown, however, he can't because it is all opinion-based.
And now we're going to focus on some solutions of the poll. But right now we're actually getting a call from former Staples alum and national champion with Michigan, Jake Thaw, to get his opinions on some solutions and what he went through when he was directly involved with the poll. We'll get back to the solutions after this call.
So first off, Jake, how's your day going so far?
My day's going great, man. It's been good. Got up, got a good workout in, and ready to fire off some answers for you here. How about you?
Awesome. Looking forward to this. All right. So first question, we're just gonna. How's your season so far at Delaware? We know you transferred there this past year.
Yeah, the season went well. We went 9-2. We're not eligible for playoffs this year because we're going up to the FBS next year. But I thought it was a really nice season, and I thought that team did a great job. It felt like a great first year here.
That's great. How did the stress of the AP poll affect you and the team when you were at Michigan?
Yeah, I think when you kind of have those polls coming out and you know how important they are, especially when in my time there were only 4 playoff spots available.
Yeah.
I think they're stressful, but I think that kind of the most important thing you got to be able to do is you have to be able to just kind of play and trust that if you keep doing the right things, you keep winning, that the polls will kind of take care of themselves. I mean, I know that like the college football playoff polls were more important because at the end of the day, those were the ones that decided like whether or not you were going to the playoff.
Yeah.
But I think really anytime there's any poll, you obviously want to be ranked highly, but the most important thing is just focus on one game at a time and figure that the polls will kind of take care of themselves from there.
Definitely. Great response. How important do you think the AP poll is?
I think it's important in the sense of you kind of get a feel in the beginning of the year of kind of where teams are at, and it's interesting to see. But at the same time, it's kind of like I just mentioned, toward the end of the year, it kind of deteriorates in importance because at the end of the day, the teams that are going to the college football playoff are the ones that are ranked the highest in a different set of rankings, not the AP poll. So I think that it still has relevance, but in terms of overall importance, definitely fallen off from what it used to be.
Okay, definitely. All right. Next is, do you believe the AP poll is a positive part of college football and should be released every week? Or do you think that it should be more sporadic and only like once a month or something?
I think every week's important because you see big shakeup. I mean, think about this year. You've seen so many upsets. You see Oklahoma beat Alabama, and then Alabama comes out and they beat Georgia. So you've seen just so much going on. I think if there was a month without it releasing, it would kind of be like a little bit of it'd be a pretty big question mark, like what's going on.
Yeah.
Every week, I think it's an appropriate amount of time for it to release.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think the AP poll is decided in a logical way, how they have the 55 people on their committee?
It is media members. I do know that there's sometimes can be instances of bias toward if you say you're a massive Wisconsin Badgers fan and you're on that poll. There's the top 25, but then you also have got the little section which is like others receiving votes, and occasionally you'll see like some random teams that have no business receiving votes getting a vote. So in those times, I think that it's a little bit like, okay, well, what are we doing here? Like some of these guys are clearly making biased decisions, but I think in general, it usually is pretty fair.
Yeah. All right, last question here. Did coaches ever mention the AP poll? And if so, did they like the idea or just wanted you guys to focus on your own game and your mentality?
I mean, Coach Harbaugh was very much about, we're playing our game, kind of like you just said, like less about worry about where we are. So I think that Coach Harbaugh was pretty adamant about, kind of like I said earlier, the season will take care of itself. And in terms of the AP poll, he definitely wasn't really worried about that, just because it's not gonna determine how your season goes at the end of the year.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Trey. Thanks for having me.
Talking about solutions, and the thing that we think should stay is wins against ranked opponents, because those are the best against the best. Everyone likes to see them.
Something that we think has to change is, although they do account for strength of schedule, I think that they need to account for just their schedule in general, because teams can only play the teams on their schedule, and if they don't get a good schedule to begin with, there's nothing that they can do about that. As we said with Florida State, they kind of got screwed, and it wasn't their fault.
Another solution that we saw on the Pat McAfee show is to have people who focus on many high-profile games instead of just one, so they can see a better view of the college football landscape.
Head-to-head matches should be respected when it comes to who is above who.
If one team beats another, why is it that that team should be ranked ahead of the other team? Is it because they play better teams? Is it because they play worse teams? Is it because their records are vastly different? Or if they have the same records, I think that head-to-head should matter the most.
If all these solutions are implemented, then people won't think that the AP poll is unfair or won't have any controversy to it, and that the AP poll will change for the better. That's all from CMF Studio. Thank you to Snapple once again for sponsoring this segment, and thank you for Michael Brennan and Finn for joining me today. We'll see you guys next time.